Hello and welcome to the YYC Soccer Podcast. My name is Jason Kmet and my co-host is Scott Strasser. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Jason. Deja vu. It feels like we were just doing this.
Yes, we were. We already recorded and released the League One Alberta men's preview, and tonight we're going to get the women's preview all together. It's quick succession. I don't think we've ever released a podcast on basically 2 consecutive days before.
I don't think we have, and I know we have plans to record another one this week, later in the week, to recap how Cavalry's latest games have gone, including what will be today's game against Vancouver Whitecaps. So very busy for us at the YYC Soccer Podcast Studios. So similar to what was yesterday's episode featuring the men's teams, this episode we're going to talk about the Women's League One Alberta season, which is approaching. Well, it's kicking off today when people listen to this. And you managed to get interviews with 3 of the Calgary-based teams' head coaches, those being Shaun Lowther from Callies United, which is the Callies Southwest United mix, as well as Colin Mackay, who will be taking over the head coaching duties for Foothills this season. And then I think he's been on the podcast more than anybody else, Diogo Raposo, head coach of Blizzard's League One team. Yeah, so before we run those interviews, similar to what we did for the men's episode, I thought we could maybe highlight a player or 2 from each team that we're expecting to play well this summer or to have a big impact on their team. Would you like to start off with Blizzard?
Let's start with former podcast guest Rachel Barlow. She graduated from the UC Dinos, and at this point, I think she's continuing on with playing here in the summertime, and I think that she's definitely keeping herself in a position where she could be looking for a pro opportunity potentially, either after the season's over here into the fall or into Project 8 possibly next year.
For sure. And I know you also highlighted Liz Oruber, the Southern Utah University player, as another one to watch from the Blizzard team.
There's a couple players that are joining League One Alberta on Calgary-based teams, and they're from the Whitecaps residency program. So she's one of those players. So they were with the Whitecaps residency, and she played in League One BC last year, for example, and then she got a NCAA scholarship at Southern Utah and played there this year, and she came back home to Calgary for the summer. And
yeah, and I listened to your interview with Diogo beforehand, and something you and I have talked about and that he touched upon in that interview is the continuity in Blizzard's roster this season. So many returning players from last year, which should bode well considering they are the defending champions. And as we've seen at different levels, different teams, chemistry is very important in a short season where you don't have that much time to develop chemistry. I think that's going to be a real advantage for Blizzard.
Oh, totally. Like all these players basically know each other really well, have played together.
So shifting focus to Foothills, the player I wanted to highlight was, I might butcher the name here, so I apologize, Irioloa Omateo. I think she just goes by Iri Omateo. Colin Mackay mentioned her in the interview. She's a member of Villanova University in NCAA. She was a freshman last fall, but had an immediate impact for Villanova's defense. Started 15 matches in her first NCAA season. She also has some U17 Canada experience and also some League One BC experience dating back to 2022 when she would have been, I think, like a grade 11 student athlete. So quite the resume despite her young age. Played for Team Alberta at the Canada Summer Games in 2022. Formerly was with the Whitecaps Rex program, 2005 born, so I think that would make her 18 or 19. No, I think her resume clearly shows her pedigree.
Definitely.
I think an important thing to mention with Foothills, so they finished 3rd last year, which means they have a point to prove. They definitely want to catch up to Blizzard in particular. Like I listened to the interview with Colin Mackay, and they have that connection with Foothills WFC, and I'm wondering how that will help, particularly in the opening games of the season when you might see those UWS players playing for the League One team simply to prepare for their own season, which doesn't start until later in the month.
That should provide Foothills with a real boost in those first few games of the year.
Yeah, and the player that Colin mentioned in the interview stuck out immediately was Sarah Kinsner, who we've had on the podcast before, but she brings a ton of experience. And if she is playing some League One games, that's going to be super beneficial for them. Former pro, former UWS experience, national team experience at U17 and U20.
Let's talk about Callies United, and it's their first year in the league. I think one player which caught my attention was Hannah Duguid. She plays for University of Colorado in the NCAA, and she's played for Canada at various youth levels. She's got a big pedigree for sure.
For my choice, I wanted to highlight a player who I've actually seen play multiple times before, that being Eleni Georgakakos. She's from Calgary, played for Springbank growing up. I actually interviewed her because I used to cover the high school soccer leagues for Airdrie and Cochrane, and they always would play Springbank, whose girls team was very dominant, I think, in 2022. And Eleni Georgakakos was on that team. Probably, I don't even know how many goals she would have scored, but everything kind of went through her on the pitch. So wasn't surprised to hear that she went on to play university soccer. She's currently at the UBCO Heat out in Kelowna, and she started 11 of 15 games last season. She made the Canada West All-Rookie team, got 1 goal and 4 assists. I just thought, I know this player, and I figured, she was her intelligence on the ball was pretty obvious at the high school level. Obviously, this is a couple of steps up from that, but I was just checking her university career thus far and her stats and stuff. She's small, I think 5'5", but really, really good soccer brain. So she's the one I wanted to pick out for our player to watch on the Callies team.
Without any further ado, let's roll the interviews. We're going to start with Shaun Lowther from Callies United, and then Colin Mackay from Foothills, and then Diogo Raposo from the Blizzard. And let's run those now. I'd like to welcome Shaun Lowther to the podcast. Shaun is the head coach of the Callies United League One women's team, and he is also the director of soccer operations for Southwest United. Welcome to the podcast, Shaun.
Thank you for having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
Let's talk about joining forces with Callies. So can you talk a little bit about the benefits of that partnership?
Absolutely. Obviously Callies have been around for eons in the Calgary soccer scene, have done very well on the national stage and provincial stage. And obviously with Calgary Southwest United, we're a fairly big club in Calgary. We're a National Youth Club license holder, and part of our pathway, we get to the stage where the kids get to 16, 17, and then they have to move on to other clubs to fulfill their pathway at the highest levels. And we thought that getting together with Callies would be a great opportunity to allow our boys in particular the opportunity to play at the highest levels in semi-professional soccer here in Canada through the League One system. We've always had good quality girls programming with major league teams and prem teams, and we thought it was a natural progression to allow the kids to play on.
When we talk about the women's team this year that you're going to be the head coach of, can you talk to us a little bit about some of the players that we can be expecting to see on the pitch this year, like maybe even by position, about some of the recognizable faces and some people for us to be watching for?
Absolutely. We're starting goal. We have a player called Kaylee Leask, who's a more experienced player, played for Calgary Southwest United as a youth player, went on to play for University of Texas El Paso, and then the University of Calgary Dinos for a couple of years. She was involved with the Rex program, provincial team programming, tremendous goalkeeper, great leader, and she'll be a keeper that will do a good job for us. Helping her out will be Julia Simons, who's an 07 keeper, so born in 2007, been with the club for quite a while, with Calgary Southwest United, involved with the Rex program here in Calgary, and the Whitecaps program when I was here as well. So she's a good goalkeeper. And then we have a keeper called Kate Prince, who is with Grant McCune University, a little bit older than Julia. So 3 quality goalkeepers there, and we have a couple of other keepers playing at the Prem level, etc. So in goal, it looks really good. At the back, we have lots of university players. Most have been with the club as a youth player and then moved on to university. So Dory Sutherland at the University of Saskatchewan, Talia Simonuk is at the University of Toronto, Natasha Frawless has been at Mount Royal University. And then Julie Sirochin, who's going to Trinity Western, is an 06 player who will give us great attacking options coming out of the back as an attacking left back. So, I think we're pretty solid there. Through in the midfield, we've got a youngish midfield with one veteran, a wily veteran called Amy Iwanicki, who played for Calgary Chinooks, has been around the Calgary soccer scene for quite a number of years, went down to the States on a scholarship. So she brings that experience. But then we have players such as Maya Letelier and Sophia Piast, who are Southwest United players just graduating this year, going off to University of Saskatchewan, UBCO. So they give us a little bit of youth. And then Eleni Georgikakis, who's at UBCO, is a Southwest alumni who's good going forward. She'll be a number 10 for us. Jordan Grindel as well is another player, plays at Mount Royal. She's of German descent, dual nationality, Canadian and German, but she played her youth soccer for Bayern Munich and a few other teams in Germany. A youngish midfield with one wily veteran.
And up front, that's the last position we have left. So let's talk about the attackers.
Up front, we have Annabelle Walker, who's a wide player, plays at UBCO, played for Blizzard, Calgary Blizzard youth club. Lots of pace, can get beyond players. As a centre forward, we have Kendall Showers, who's a player that I actually coached as a youth with the Calgary Celtic and Calgary NSD back in the day. Played at University of Calgary, is very powerful, strong player that scores goals, so she'll do well for us. And then we have Annalisa Galvez, an 06, who is a good player, attacking number 10, can play up front, just coming out of youth soccer. She'll do a good job for us up there. And then lastly, we have Hannah DeGude, who's a central midfield player, played for Canada at the under-17, under-20 level. Currently at University of Colorado Boulder, where Jessie Fleming went to school. She's off to Europe for the first couple of weeks of the season, but then will come back after having a European trip with the university team.
So how would you describe the team's playing style and tactics?
Well, I think we'll be a team that will look to defend quite aggressively. We'll look to press for the most part if we can. Obviously, that depends on the opposition. So we'll look to get turnovers in the attacking third of the pitch and create from there. But also, we'll play out at the back and keep the ball on the ground. We'll want to play long at all. We'll try and play through the thirds and keep a possession style type of soccer. I forgot to mention we have a whole bunch of youth players as well who will be knocking at the door with the team. Sam Torres, centre back, Maria Georgikakis, who's a attacking midfield player, Cassie Pavia, who's a goalkeeper. So, the Southwest way of playing at the female level in particular has always been possession orientated with making sure we have a high press.
Going into this first season, you're entering the league as a first-year team. How do you approach the league going into its second season as a new entrant, as opposed to there are some teams in there that have already been established? What's your expectations and what are your goals for this year?
I think our expectations are, we want to compete. We want to make it difficult for opponents to play against us, but at the same time, look to play an attractive type of soccer where we keep the ball. Obviously, coming in as rookies per se, it's going to be more difficult for us. We're not entirely sure of what the standard will be like. I mean, we know most of these players, they play against each other at youth level, etc. And I know at the youth level teams I've coached, has always been competitive against the Foothills and the Blizzards. So the NDC will be a younger team, I would assume, made up of players from provincial team programming that have opportunities to go with Canada. And then obviously St. Albert will be very strong. Edmonton Scottish have been around a lot of years. So I'd expect them to be strong as well. And then BTB, another sort of newcomer. They were in last year, but they just started a female program. I think we'll be competitive. Obviously we'd like to do well, but we're going to have to wait to see what it's like on the actual day.
Is there anything else you want to mention? Is there any other message you want to give to the fans and supporters of Southwest United and Callies going into the season?
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be an opportunity for players to step up and perform. And hopefully we get good crowds out. We'll be obviously marketing to our youth players. So we expect lots of the young girls to come out and watch hopefully their heroes. And some of them have played for Canada. That are playing in this league. It's a stepping stone to the next level. So we anticipate that'll be a fun season with lots of opportunity to learn and grow.
Okay, great. Well, we wish you all the best in the upcoming season, and we'll be following along with interest, and we'll probably check in with you as the season develops.
Awesome. Thank you for the time with you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Shaun. I'd like to welcome Colin Mackay to the podcast. Colin is the head coach of Calgary Foothills League One Alberta women's team, and he is also the director of club operations at Foothills. Welcome to the podcast, Colin.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me today.
Going into the second season of League One Alberta, what did you learn after the first season, and how is that going to affect your preparations going into this upcoming year?
Yeah, I think obviously we're super excited that this is now kind of gone into a formal league. I've been craving a standards-based league for the adult side or the senior side for a while. So kudos to ASA for getting this league up and running last year as a exhibition season, and obviously this year into a formal season. I mean, my role was obviously changed, assistant coach last year, so into a new head coach this year. And I think as we normally do, I think we're looking to compete a little bit better than we did last year. Finishing third is a bit disappointing for us, so we're looking forward to maybe stepping up and getting into that 1-2 spot this year.
Can we talk a little bit about some of the players that will be on the team this year? Maybe we could even break things down by position a little bit and just give us an idea of some of the players we're going to be seeing on the pitch.
Sure. Starting in goal, I think we've got a lot of good experience there. We've got Carly Voldwagel, who again, one of the more senior players. She's a alumni from University of Ottawa, GG's, was with us last year as well. Lizzie Knight, currently playing at Grant MacEwan University or MacEwan University. And then our third goalkeeper or one of our up-and-comers will be Sarah Balk, who's currently a youth academy player at the club, and she'll play with our 07s, and she'll be very competitive in regards to taking a 1-2 spot this year. So
in the back on defense,
we've got a core of our team is obviously the University Dinos, obviously a lot of alumni from Foothills that have gone there. So happy to have them back. Successful program with Diogo there. So the ability to have that as a core helps us. Some key players in the back line this year will be Eri Omoteo, a Rangers alumni, born in 2005, represented Canada at the U17 program, currently playing at Villanova University. So she'll be a new addition to the league this year. I think we've got Brooklyn Colvin, as I said before, one of the key starters at UFC Dinos. So those two will be the kind of key center backs for us. And then we got Olivia Kranchuk, fourth-year player, Trinity Western University, always a successful program there. And then we've got Sammy McDonald's, Foothills alumni as well, currently enrolled with St. Avex University in Antigonish, Nova Scotia. So those will be some key players. Like I said, we got some youth academy players that we're super proud of. Julie Randall, Reese Kincaid, currently both playing in our youth Foothills academy system, and they'll be key additions to that backline as well.
Let's talk about the midfield for a bit.
Yeah, I think the advantage we have is we've got a UWS team as well. That's a little bit, they're more of a pro-am team. They play in the UWS, United Women's Soccer League. So we have the opportunity to have some of those players join our program as well. So I think tomorrow you're going to see some key players in that position. So Sarah Kinsler played for Canada, Brooklyn Blake, Blizzard alumni, played NCAA, and then Gracie Hannaford, who's youth sport all-star from Cape Breton University, just went into the Hall of Fame. So those will be three key players for us. Leila Taraf, Dinos player as well. Isabella De Palma, another key Dinos player. So we're super comfortable with that kind of depth in midfield we have.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you about that, about how it works between bringing players back and forth between UWS and League One Alberta. I noticed last year there was some back and forth, and we should expect to see more of that again this year.
I think early on you will, for sure. Obviously, up until our UWS season gets going, I believe they start just after May long weekend. So I think we got 2 or 3 games before that. So you'll see some of those players using League One as a preparation as they do in the pro leagues, right? You see players playing down with their academy teams or the reserve teams. So you'll see that. And then after that, like I said, we're still also waiting for some key players to get back from university. So we won't have a full group here until after May long weekend for the League One team as well.
To wrap things up on the position by position, what about up front?
Up front, we've got a mix of youth and a mix of experience, which we're super excited about. Cheyenne Lehman, she'll be a key player for us up top. University of Saskatchewan, second-year player right now, and she went to won an all-rookie award her year 1. She's a natural goal scorer, so she'll be relied upon heavily. And then we've got some youth players up top that have come through our academy system. Avril Jameson, 07 girl, currently second in goal scoring for her youth team. In the youth league for the 07s, provincial wide. And then we've just got a new transfer over from Southwest United, Juliana Larada, who's going to end up going to Thompson River University. Again, super dynamic player, youth, works hard, hungry. Looking forward to having her in the group this year.
One thing you mentioned earlier, I was just going to circle back to. So one of the challenges with this league really does seem to be that the availability of some of the players, by the time they come back from university and then when they have to leave, it is a bit of a tight window, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, obviously with the first season starting, or first game starting tomorrow, like I said, some of the girls are just finishing up exams right now. So they're actually not here until, and some schools, NCAA, go into May, right? So they won't be here till May long weekend. Some of the NCAA players will leave early July, right? And with the season wrapping up with the Cup final on July 26th. Super short window, but gives them an opportunity to get an off-season, get ready for their upcoming university season. So a huge gap in the pathway we didn't have 3 or 4 years ago. So yeah, we're looking forward to the season as well this year. So
what are the team's overall goals for this year, and what would a successful season look like for you?
I said earlier, obviously we finished third last year. Super disappointing, in my opinion. We've got a very deep female program, girls program, women's program at Foothills. We've had success at the youth club season after season across the board. We feel that we are comparable or on par with the top 2 teams in the league that finished last year. So our goal would be to improve from our third season finish. Obviously, then goal would be to win the league, because then you earn a spot in that new women's championship. But again, also playing in the final, cup final, and the league final. Those are our 2 goals. So again, when you finish third and you're disappointed, you want to be in the 1-2 spot, and that's what we're going to try and do.
Any last things you want to add in? Any messages to the fans out there, or anything else you want to mention before we wrap it up?
I think I'm a huge advocate for the female game here. So this is a massive opportunity for youth programs across Alberta that have the League One teams to step into this environment and use it as a stepping stone to the pro game, university programs. And again, with our Project 8 happening next year, again, there's a ton of up and coming talent that will play in this league this year. And I think we encourage everyone to come watch and support. So
great. Thanks very much for taking the time to do the interview. And we wish you and the team all the best in the upcoming season. And we'll be following along with interest. Thanks very much.
Perfect. Thanks, Jason. Have a beer. See you later.
I'd like to welcome back Diogo Raposo to the podcast. He is the head coach of the Calgary Blizzard League One Alberta team, which is starting the year on May 7th. Welcome to the podcast again, Diogo.
Thanks, Jason. Pleasure to be on here again.
Now that it's the second year of this League One Alberta program and Blizzard are defending champs, how does that change your approach for starting the season? Is there something different, or just kind of stick with what's worked?
Yeah, I don't think we change our approach. It's a fantastic opportunity for obviously players coming back from university. I'd say that's the majority of our team, and then youth players who are kind of integrated in and making sure that we're taking it as serious as possible in regards to preparation and training environment and competition, but also being able to provide university players with some time off on weekends, long weekends, those type of pieces to make sure that there's some balance and they're fresh heading into the university season. I think from a competition point of view, not too much changes from last year. We'll take it one game at a time and not think about being champions last year. That's last year, and that's where we'll leave it. But obviously expect to consistently improve every single game. That will be our approach.
Talking about giving the players a break, it looks like on the schedule, there is going to be some time off around those long weekends. That was planned out probably for that very reason, I would think.
Yeah, long weekends are off, which it'd be tough anyways to get, I think, fans, but also players available and those type of pieces, because families want to go away on the weekends and have their plans. We also got lucky that one of our bye weeks is kind of that last week of June. So we're going to give the players about 7 days off in that time, unwind and see their families and all that. Lucky from a planning point of view, the Tuesday, Fridays make sense from a game day, and we'll go from there. But we want to be able to provide an actual summer for players, but also the seriousness of competition and training.
I've been watching the announcements as they've been coming out on social media for the player announcements thus far, and there's been a lot of returning players this year. It looks like a good chunk of the roster will be back from last year. Are there any new players right now that you want to highlight and maybe mention? Because like I said, I think when I look through the list, it's generally speaking mostly returning players, which is good. But just I'd like to hear a little bit more about the new faces.
Yeah, our core is returning. I think I spoke about it last year. A lot of our group last year as well as this year are Blizzard players from our youth program, and I think it speaks volumes to the work that we do within the club. We have added some players. Last week there was Liz Orabor, who got announced. She's a Southwest youth product and is at Southern Utah University. Dynamic left back, left center back, left winger. She can impact the game in many ways, and we're really excited about her. And I think she'll be a very impactful player for us. Grace Moore got announced today. Versatile up front, can play on the wings, can play up top, scores goals at the university level, former Blizzard product as well. So I'd say most of our other additions are going to be players who played small roles last year as call-ups within our either youth call-up or from the major league environment, who've proven themselves over this past year, either at university or in our youth programs, that will promote full time into our League One environment. And then, as always, a little bit of surprise we'll leave for our last kind of signing. We've got a former U20 Canadian national played pro who will be joining the group as well, but we'll leave that surprise till the end.
How did you feel the game day experience went last year, and are we going to expect to see anything different this year?
Yeah, last year at Broadview, I think was fantastic. I thought our club as a whole and our volunteers did an amazing job on a game day, making sure obviously the product on the field was great. The environment, food, beer gardens, all of that was excellent for fans, parents alike, as well as our opponents, making sure that they were taken care of in regards to providing them tickets and a game day environment where our stands were full. And I think we were close to 350, 400 people at every single game, which is great. This year, because of 2 additional Calgary teams with this Alberta soccer group, as well as with Callies for Southwest, there's limited time at Broadview. So we have 6 home games. 3 of our games will be at Broadview. 3 of our games will be at Calgary West. There is a shortage of field time in Calgary, as I'm sure you're aware of. So we've had to adjust. We did play 1 game last year at Calgary West because of the smoke up. So we've been there. We've done our game day there before. We did the best we could with an indoor dome, and we're lucky to have that facility. And CMSA was great to provide that for us, but it's not necessarily the same. You'd want to enjoy a Friday night on a patio in the stands, in the sun. But I think our environment will still be great, and we'll have our music, our DJ, our walkouts, youth teams there, etc. So really excited. Again, it's an opportunity for our youth players, but Calgary minor youth players all over, come and see where they can be in a couple of years playing for their League One, whether that's at Blizzard or Foothills or Callies, seeing where they can play within that environment.
What are the team's overall goals for this season, and what's success going to look like by the time we hit the end of July?
Yeah, I think it's multifaceted. Our success for us is making sure our players are progressing to whatever their next stage of soccer or football is. Some or most are going back to the university environment. So making sure when they go back there, they're impacting, they're fit, they're fresh, they're confident, they've got minutes under their belt, which makes sure that they impact there. It's obviously, we see ourselves as obviously wanting to win the league and win another League One championship, but it's more about their personal development and where they're going to. Obviously, we have some players as well who have finished university or have played pro, and they're getting back to those players as well as competing, to making sure that they're going to go and have a successful university season, or they're going to go and play pro. And that's kind of, I think, what the pathway is all about. Of course, we have another Kaylee Hunter story from last year where she played 8 games with us, and leading scorer goes on Whitecaps, leading scorer there for the games that she was in place for the U17 national team, played for the U20 national team, all within a calendar year. Of course, we want that. That's what our job is as a youth club, and now as a one club, is to promote that pathway and hopefully provide opportunities for players. And that's, for us, that's success.
Okay, great. I noticed ticket sales are now available. Do you want to plug the team or talk about how to get your tickets or how to follow along this year?
Yeah, if you go on any of our social media, you'll see our link to the Universe website, which every club now in League One uses. But our tickets, what's great about them is if you pay for one season ticket, you can come to the men's games and the women's games. So you can stay for both. You're not paying 2 different rates there. Any CMSA player gets in for free as long as they have their jersey from their club. So that's any club. In Calgary minor soccer, it doesn't need to be a Blizzard jersey. And obviously our youth tickets are subsidized and cheaper than our regular tickets. So again, we'll do our best off the field to make sure that everyone has a great experience. There's food, there's drinks, there's all of that. And then obviously from an on-field experience, we'll do our best to make sure we put on a show, and your son, daughter, player, or whatever it may be, wants to come back to the next game because they enjoyed it so much.
Thank you, Diogo, for taking the time to do the interview, and we wish you all the best in this upcoming season.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast. If you like this League One Alberta preview, make sure you subscribe to our podcast through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever podcasting platform you use. We cover the Calgary soccer scene, and we'll have regular League One coverage over the summer. Head over to our website at yycsoccer.com with more information about how to leave a question or a comment. You can also follow us on Instagram or Twitter at YYCSoccer403. Thanks for listening.